Hello, this is the help video for Exchange 2010 database backups and restores. In a previous video we added this client and now we're going to go ahead and show you what the backups and restores would look like. But before we do that, I recall when I made the previous video that I forgot to edit this and actually delete the C drive, since I want the backup to be quick for this demonstration purpose. So I'll make that quick change. And now we'll run our backup. If your database was really huge, this process might take several hours, but in this case I happen to know that my database is quite small, so it should finish fairly quickly. Okay, there's our backup job. So I'll go ahead and let's browse into that and I'll show you what things will look like. You recall that the Exchange 2010 is backed up using VSS writers, so we won't see the traditional Exchange folder underneath there. Instead we see VSS, which contains the Microsoft Exchange writer, and what we're after is buried underneath here. So we can drill down. This is actually just the file path to where the actual EDB file or the actual log files exist. So I'll show you that example. So there's the EDB file, and you would expect to see the same if I were to drill down underneath the logs here. So that's how the VSS backup works. It just grabs in the file path. If I wanted to do a restore from this point, I would actually just go up a level, and I can just simply select to choose my mailbox database and then run my restore from here. But before we do that, there's a few other things that need to happen. I need to be aware of where I want to restore. By default, the system will always attempt to restore back to the original location, or in other words, will attempt to write where the actual live database now resides. But if you don't want to do that, you'll need to restore to a recovery database. In older versions of Exchange, there was a recovery storage group, but now Exchange 2010 has added a lot more flexibility, and in place of a recovery storage group, they have something called a recovery database. I'll give you a little example of how to create one of those, but a lot of excellent tools and resources online that can help you explain how to use the recovery database. And I'll post a link to Microsoft's knowledge base article here at the end of this video to kind of direct you towards that. But let me show you a few things before we get to that point. I'll bring up my Exchange Management Console here, and you'll see if you're looking at yours and you expand down to the organization configuration and then click on Mailbox, here I see my server and everything's mounted and looking just fine. If I did want to restore right on top of my existing database, I can do that, but I would have to first dismount the database. Then I would also have to go into this Properties menu. And when that pops up, if you go to the Maintenance tab, there is an option that will allow you to overwrite the database on a restore. Again, this is only if you wish to overwrite your live database. Since I don't want to do that, I'm just going to cancel out of this. But I wanted to show you those steps in case that's what you wanted. Now, in order to restore to an alternate location, or in other words, to restore to a recovery database, you'll need to open up your Exchange Management shell. You can get to that from under the All Programs list, Exchange, and then right-click. I would always just right-click and run this as administrator. That should open up and look very much like a command shell, but it has a different title at the top. It may take a moment, but eventually it should kind of expand itself and show you that it is now connected to your Exchange server. I'm going to cheat a little bit and copy and paste in a command to create the recovery database. So you're basically telling it to create a new mailbox database. It's of type recovery, and we're going to name it simply RDB1, and then you give the name of the server so that it knows where to create the database, and then you'll hit enter. Okay, once the recovery database has been created, you can minimize that window or close it out. And then if you go back to your Exchange Management console and look again at your mailbox, you may need to refresh a couple of times, but eventually you should see your recovery database listed underneath your actual databases, and they should always be dismounted. The way to restore the database into the recovery database is to redirect your you'll need to redirect the backup to the file path or the folder structure where the recovery database was created. So let's try and figure out where that is. If you look under Properties, you should see the path of where your recovery database was created. So we'll direct our restore to this folder, the RDB1. So to redirect, I just come here to this relocate to this path, and since I copied and pasted, I should be able to go ahead and then hit restore. Okay, and there's our job restored. So now we can verify that the data was actually restored there by browsing to that location. There's my RDB1, and inside of here I would expect to be able to drill down and see those files. So that's what I need, my database file and the various log files. At this point what you'll need to do is copy these files and move them back up to the correct path, because Exchange is expecting them. So you'll want to copy those files from after drilling down into here and finding them. You will want to copy those files back into here so that Exchange sees them when it attempts to mount the database. So let's see if that worked. And then come back here and we just simply right click and mount the database. And after a short moment, that database should show up as mounted. So from here, in order to be able to extract email messages or pull entire mailboxes out of the recovery storage group, or the recovery database rather, you would need to follow a handful of other instructions using the Exchange Management, or rather the Exchange Management shell, and there's all kinds of tools. So again, I'll give you a link here at the end of the video directing you to a set of examples on Microsoft's website as to how to do that. But that's how we run an Exchange database backup on Exchange 2010 using the VSS writers, and that's how you would restore to a recovery database. Hope that's been helpful. Thank you.